Welcome to DFS Karma, where we talk about our favorite fantasy sports plays for football, basketball, baseball, and pretty much everything else. Be sure to check out and create an account with all of our partners, such as MonkeyKnifeFight.online, PrizePicks.online, and StatHero.online. Use the promo code KARMA on any of these sites to get an exclusive deposit bonus. And don't forget to check out all of our free fantasy content on DFSKarma.com, as well as our own premium plays. Without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Please welcome today's hosts.
What is up, Karma Nation? Welcome back to week 5 of the cash process. We're already entering the second quarter poll of the season. I'm your host, AC, with DFS Karma and BetKarma.com. And as always, I have Ben Hop with me. We'll talk about last week's cash games, more or less in specific about DraftKings. We'll always touch on FanDuel as well. We'll talk about the macro game theory early edition view of this week ahead. And then, of course, we'll go through position by position. As always, let's start, Ben. How was your week last week? How'd it go on both sides? Anything you could have done right, wrong, and different looking back?
Yeah, so got to 4-0 on FanDuel, which is good. I know a lot of our community plays heavily on FanDuel. Good? Yeah, that's really good. So I'm hyped about that. DraftKings, dude. So obviously I fell to 1-3 there. Had a huge week in week 1, and then since then have just not been able to get on the board. But it's come down to like a 2v2 every week, and I just keep picking wrong. So I think eventually this will correct, and I will get some good luck. I also started 1-3 last season and ended up 12-5. So I can definitely go on like a hot streak here. But I mean, dude, all week I had Will Fuller in my lineup, and then this freaking value opened up with Adam Troutman. So I ended up Saturday night, I moved my tight end down to Adam Troutman so I could move Will Fuller up to Tyler Lockett, and that was just a disaster because Tyler Lockett was dropping wide open passes while Will Fuller was predictably going ham. I had the Watson to Will Fuller stack on FanDuel, so that was fine, but super tilting.
Yeah, the Lockett thing was tilting for sure. It was just like, what is going on? I'll tell you what, Ben, I am extremely happy that there's no Lockett or DK decision this week. Like, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, let's go. Like, I like looking at this slate at first glance. Last week for myself, everything in DFS. That's why this is kind of like a fun pod. It's early in the week, but we also really do break down the process, and we try to talk more of a season-long aspect, even though it is week to week in DFS. So even though you fell to 1-3, I've never felt better about 1-3, Ben, on DraftKings. I mean, I know that's a bad start for me this year. It is a long season. I do feel good. I do feel exactly like you do, and we text about it as well. There has been a couple of these, like, literally pick a coin between a Tyler Lockett / DK Metcalf type of decision the first few weeks of the season. And in cash games on DraftKings, I've been on the short end of the stick. But with that being said, again, it's a long season. I feel excited going 1-3. So it just all depends on how you look at it. Stay within your bankroll management. FanDuel, just like you, I'm not 4-0, but I am 3-1, and I feel great on that site. Had a really, really, really nice, convincing win on that platform as well. And like I talked about Sunday with Sam, I personally play a lot of cash games on FanDuel just because I do think it's a little bit easier. I mean, we've said that the last few years, but again, I know that people want DraftKings. That's why we're going to always stay DraftKings specific. And frankly, the tournaments obviously are much better on DraftKings. So I had an okay week in tournaments. I actually had a couple. I usually play 6 or 7 GPPs if possible on DraftKings. I didn't for the second week on FanDuel. And I had a couple great lineups on DraftKings for tournaments. This week, I think I'm really limited with time. I got a wedding this weekend, so I'm pretty much one lineup on FanDuel. For sure, one of my main on DraftKings, but probably just one GPP or 2 GPPs to get into those 3 max entries. So that's what I'm doing this week. Let's start diving into it, Ben. Anything you want to start off top as far as injury news? I know, again, it's a little bit earlier in the week, and we'll obviously address this in our Discord chat community, which you can access under the subscriber button at dfskarma.com. But, Ben, what's your game theory look of the week? If you want to talk about injuries as well, what are we looking at? And then we'll get into quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's another week, and it's just going to be the normal for this season. But there's going to be a ton of injuries every week. It's going to obviously be valuable to pay attention, be valuable to be in Discord because Bales, myself, Sam, like we're in there. As soon as we hear injury news on Thursday, Friday, so we can talk about it in there. But be sure to read final thoughts on Saturday night after all the injury news has come out. But there's going to be some big ones again. I know the Browns lost Nick Chubb. It looks like Julio Jones is probably going to miss this week. So those are some big names right off the bat. But as always, there's going to be value that opens up later on in the week for sure.
Well, I was going to rudely interrupt you like I usually do, but I decided to let you finish your sentence. When you hit the word Browns, I can't believe we made it, Ben. Like, what, 3.5 minutes into the podcast? All you haters out there who always comment, go ahead. Go to YouTube. I see the comments, and I love them. For better or worse, let's get the Browns trolling comments. We look really good. Like I've been saying, we're 3-1. This is a huge, huge, huge game for the Browns. Ironically, they're dogs at home, which I get. The Colts, I don't understand the line. I mean, Ben, you texted me that I think Sunday night or whenever the line first came out. That line seems iffy. The Browns, if they win 4-1 with a date with Pittsburgh the following week, so that's a little real life talk on the Browns. All right, I had to get it out, Ben. I'm sorry, it was just too good of a game. Hold on a second, my boy, who I told you last week on the cash process, by the way, and you laughed at me. I said lock button. And then the industry picked up on him a little bit, and Beckham went off. That was glorious. I know you loved it.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I kind of was kicking myself for not considering him more in cash, but I was just on Fuller so much. Like I was never not playing Fuller in that price range.
Had touchdowns, by the way. I mean, Fuller, that last one was highly questionable.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. I was all over Burrow and Boyd. They had one called back, and then Burrow also had one where a guy just took it out of his receiver's hands in the end zone. I mean, it was super unlucky week for me. But
all right. Well, let's get into it. Now, for the people that fast-forwarded, you made it. This is the part where we'll start giving out the good plays. I'll find the Beckham play of the week again. I promise you. It's coming. Like, I actually did a little bit more research before this pod because, again, I'm so limited on the back end starting tomorrow into the weekend. So I feel good about this week. Let's get into it, Ben. I'm going to go to you to quarterback. What are you looking at to start?
Yeah, same situation as every week at quarterback. You want to get to Lamar, Mahomes, even Josh Allen, who's up in that price range now. If you want to get up to those guys, you can. Dak Prescott, I mean, we have to mention him. Obviously, the Giants are a good matchup. It's really historic what he's doing. I mean, he's on pace to shatter Peyton Manning's passing yard season record. Threw for 500 against the Browns in garbage time. Like, absolutely insane what he's doing. Not sure if that's somewhere I would go in cash, but I don't really like if someone was like, I'm just going to stack the Cowboys every week in cash. Like, I'm not going to blame you with how bad their defense is right now. Like, they're going to be forced in to those game scripts regularly. So I don't think that's a bad call. The guy that sticks out to me first and foremost is Deshaun Watson at 6,900. I played him in cash on FanDuel last week after I kind of was off him early in the week. And then just the more I researched, the more I came onto him. He did not look good early in that game. But now we get this narrative that we love. He was kind of always at war. Him and Hopkins were kind of always at war with Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien gets fired. So first game without Bill O'Brien at home against a bad defense that I was all over Burrow in this exact spot last week. So now we get the great matchup mixed with the narrative. And 6,900, I mean, he has a ceiling at that price tag, especially if they let him run a little bit more than he has been. And I think that in terms of efficiency, this is a good spot for him to be efficient in the passing game. The Jaguars were allowing an 80% completion rate to quarterbacks heading into last week. I haven't checked how that changed after the Bengals game, but talk me off of Watson, man. I think that's such a good spot. I feel like you could probably get to 6,900 if you want to.
Yeah, I kind of made two good lineups on both sites. I'll actually start with FanDuel just because, like I said, I think I do read the comments and people want a little bit more talk in FanDuel as well. I think Watson, Ben, and I think he's at most chalk in FanDuel. Like, for sure. I think he's going to be like 50% owned, like something just wild. Like, you're going to open up your 50-50s and be like, oh my God, like, does it even matter? So for that reason alone, and again, this is why under the core plays at our website, which you can read, Ben, all of us, we play our individual core plays. It's there. Matt, all those guys put a lot of money on these plays. Trust me. I think personally, if that's the case, I might just go to Dak on FanDuel and take half the ownership. Like, I think Dak's going to be 15% owned. He'll still be owned, but I just think it's going to be one of these weeks that the Watson narrative will build. He's a great price. He's probably the optimal play, but I might try to make a lineup with Dak on FanDuel just at first glance. If not, then yeah, Watson's the play. On DraftKings, probably the same kind of scenario between Watson. I really want to just play Dak. I feel like he'll be lower owned in cash games just, because he's 7,400, whatever. But the guy that I keep going to, Ben, right now, and again, it's so early, but last week I talked about Fitzmagic, and some people act like he didn't do well. By the way, he crushed value on both sides. So I don't understand why some people were hating on his game. Could he have done a little better? Yeah, he could have dropped another touchdown, but he still went off. The guy I'm coming to, Ben, is a guy that you talked about in the offseason. And what I say 2 weeks ago, I said, I do listen to the things you guys talk about in Discord, even though I'm not in the trenches like you guys. And I keep going back to Teddy Bridgewater, 5,900. I don't know. Maybe he's going to get more traction throughout the week. I don't think it's a sexy play. It's kind of like the Fitzmagic play I was looking at last week. I mean, the price isn't amazing. That's why if you have the 1,000, of course, get the Watson. But I kind of watched that whole game against Atlanta last night, and I'm just in awe of how beat up they are. Like, they're literally like a high school team out there in the secondary. I mean, it's bad. Did you see, Ben? I don't know if you were you watching the game?
Yeah, I was watching.
So did you see the updates at halftime? The coaches were talking about moving the linebackers to safety. I was just immediately, I didn't even know what the schedule was. I was like, I'm playing whoever is playing against the Falcons next week. And it happens to be in a dome game, which is kind of like the Coors Field effect in Atlanta. Atlanta's going to just score a ton of points because that's what they do. I just feel like Teddy Bridgewater is a good play this week. I mean, did that even cross your mind, or am I crazy?
Yeah, I was going to mention him. I love it. So he's 5,900, and I think that there's a good chance people want to play Matt Ryan because you get this Matt Ryan at home, Matt Ryan against the Panthers, and he's only 6,100. So it's a $200 more than Bridgewater. And if people are going to play Matt Ryan, I don't play Matt Ryan in cash. I've talked about this hundreds of times. I don't play guys really that can't run in cash. Even Fitzmagic can't run. He ran a touchdown in last week. Weirdly enough, he can kind of run, but he was so cheap it didn't matter. If I'm playing someone over 6K, I'm getting someone that can run 100%. But I like that spot. The Panthers have actually kind of been like a run funnel. They're so bad against the run that teams are just running against them, and they're not doing super well throwing the ball. Kyler Murray had a really good day last week, on the ground. Didn't crush him through the air. Didn't have a bad game by any means, but it's not like the Cowboys or the Falcons or whatever, where guys are just throwing all over him. So I think Bridgewater is a better play than Matt Ryan for 200 cheaper, and I think he definitely is cash playable. I don't mind that at all.
So just to clarify, you did say you like a little bit of a running upside with Teddy. Not that it's crazy, but it's there.
Yeah,
it's in his.
I don't think he has. I don't know if he really has it. He weirdly ran it. He had 4 attempts in week 1, 0 in week 2, 2 in week 3, and then he weirdly ran one in last week. So I guess he can run it in. I wouldn't count on it though. But if you think about it, Russ really doesn't run anymore either, right? He very rarely runs. Dak even too doesn't really run much unless they get close.
Yeah, to your point. I mean, that's kind of why I trolled you into that, because you always do a better job of explaining things than I do. I'm just a monkey that screams things. But Eddie, at the end of the day, does run. And you just clarified everything that I wanted to convey. And it's not much, but it is enough. And that's why, even on FanDuel, I was shocked. I knew it was going to be low owned. I knew I was making a quote unquote, fish type play on FanDuel, but I feel like it's not. I played Fitzmagic in cash games, Ben. He was 4% owned. I don't understand. The same people, I have this theory that the people that play FanDuel either only play FanDuel and they're not in our bubble, that we kind of ran in a way, or the people that play a lot of DraftKings are simply really not playing much volume on FanDuel. I just feel like the plays there are not as correlating as you think. I was shocked at how low owned he was, and frankly, you actually want the running quarterback on FanDuel, ironically. So even on FanDuel, I'm actually considering Bridgewater. I know he's going to be less than 5% owned, but again, I'm actually always actively looking for a little bit of leverage in my lineups, and it helps me out more often than not. The weeks I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose no matter what. Does that make sense, Ben? Like, I'm looking for that extra few points I win in the weeks that it's close to the cash line, and I need a little, ownership leverage. So that's why I do it that way. All right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What are you looking at early at running back DraftKings? I mean, I can already tell you're going to play Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, look, it's Wednesday, or it's Tuesday, not Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is. Just in grind mode, but it's Tuesday. Look, we can break down individual plays here in a second. Tell me right now, if it was lock in an hour, how you're not plugging in Zeke Elliott at 7,800 at home against the Giants. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 6,800 at home against a horrible run defense in the Raiders, and his touches are just off the charts, opportunities there. And then you have Kareem Hunt at home. I know the Colts are a good defense, but he theoretically should see a ton of volume. You and I could go run behind the Browns line. I mean, their line is unbelievable. And we know that they want to run the ball. And he is only what? I don't even know how much he costs, but he's cheap. I don't have the pricing pulled up. To 6,500. So how are you not plugging those three guys in?
See, that's interesting because I thought we were just going to have the utmost crazy chalk week ever. I was sitting here kind of laughing while you were saying those names because, first off, Ben, again, this is why we always take 2 steps back. I like to think about what other people are thinking about and not just completely light on fire the week before. Tell me, Ben, why Zeke was only 49% owned, which is a lot in cash games. Why was last week Zeke not like 75% owned? I mean, when I saw that, I was like, are people – like, what is going on here? I love seeing that. Like, Zeke should have been 75% owned, right? Like, what am I missing?
Yeah, and like people will be like, "Oh, he had a horrible game." He's had like the worst games he can have. He had the worst possible game he could have. They were down 40 points last week. He still got 21.5 DraftKings points. They're not getting down 40 points to the Giants, dude. This is definitely the Zeke game.
What are we missing here? He's 7,800.
I know. I don't know why he's so cheap. I don't know why they're doing this. They're like becoming FanDuel-esque in pricing. It's weird.
I kind of almost want to play him if I'm making 3 lineups. I told you I'm making less this week.
It's like a lock, dude.
Every lineup, honestly.
I know. Bad. It's bad.
And then
I will say, so I said, why would you not want to play Hunt? Mike Davis is going to be chalk. He's 6,400.
My guy, keep him on the low.
Dude, he's going to be chalk, dude. He was chalk last week, 6,400. He's against the pass. The Falcons suck against pass catching running backs. Like, it's so obvious. But, like, I mean, so you like him more than Hunt? Like, I think projection systems will like him more than Hunt. I think I think he'll be higher owned than Hunt. But
all right, Frosty or somebody listening, go record this because, again, I'm not all Browns propaganda. Like, yeah, I love my Browns.
Yeah,
dude,
I'm talking the Browns guy up, and you're not.
It's crazy. If you look into Pro Football Focus, I'm not studying every team. I mean, I feel like I used to do a lot more studying back in the day. But again, most of our stuff I need personally for DFS and betting is on our sites. The one thing I look into at times, honestly, more of like NFL life is the actual grades on all these players and the lines and everything. It's crazy how high the grades everybody's getting on the Browns. To your point, Hunt's probably like an elite play. And like, of course, he'll be in like one of my main 2 or 3 rosters this week. But again, I talked about Bridgewater. You know me, I'm a sucker for dome game stuff. I'm all about weather guy. Give me the dome conditions. Like, I don't know right now. I mean, it is nice in Cleveland this week. I saw the weather because I'm in this wedding this weekend. It actually looks okay. But dude, it's Cleveland. Like, on the lake, man, the wind, I don't know. It just smells like a really low scoring game. Like, this seems like a 15-10 type game. Like, these are 2. Ironically, the Browns defense, I guess, isn't as bad as we thought. They're bad, but dude, Rivers and company, they're not going to be freaking slinging it around anyways. It just seems too slow for me. And I like the whole setup in Atlanta, period. That's kind of how I'm treating that. I mean, if I'm debating going Bridgewater, I love Mike Davis's pass catching ability. Obviously, I guess whatever, he's chalk, of course. But, if people are going to consider Hunt in their flex, and maybe there's a couple other guys like Josh Jacobs, a couple other guys could get traction, I guess. I don't know. Maybe there still is an edge this week. But, yeah, I just obviously am favoring that environment in Atlanta.
Yeah, if we're playing Bridgewater, it makes more sense to play Davis, especially because he's been catching the ball more and the matchup's better. But if that's the case, I'll just have so much Hunt in tournaments if that is the case. It is going to be a slow-paced game, though. You're right. It's two teams that just want to run the ball, right? So
it's going to be an amazing NFL like real life game. Let's be real. It's going to be an awesome, fun to watch. Two teams punching each other in the face. But DFS and fantasy, like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's really anything in that on both sides of the ball. Frankly, I'm actually considering playing the Browns defense in my cash games on both sides, just for the type of environment. And then also, too, Ben, back to Mike Davis, whatever. If he's going to be chalk, whatever. But watching that Atlanta game, not just the secondary, like those linebackers, I mean, you can just dump passes off. Those guys suck. I mean, it's so apparent how bad they are that I feel like you'd be screwing up, I think, by not playing Mike Davis. And we said that last week, actually, in the cash process, by the way.
For sure.
Literally. All right. What other running backs, I mean, do you see getting talked up, I guess, or considered in cash games? I mean, no one's going to play Joe Mixon, even though he ran for 3 touchdowns, but I don't know. There's other guys.
Yeah, I think I think Mostert's supposed to come back to practice tomorrow, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But if he were to miss again, Jarrick McKinnon, 5,800, played 90% of the snaps. I mean, they just unleashed him. Jeff Wilson was like not involved at all. So I think he would be a good play at home against Miami. I think Antonio Gibson, probably not for cash, but for tournaments is really interesting. 5K. He kind of broke out last week. Finally, we've been waiting for it, and the Rams have actually been kind of susceptible to the run. I don't have the numbers pulled up, but I know they've been like not as good against the run as you would think. So I think Gibson at 5K is interesting, but more so for tournaments than cash games.
So I do this once in a while for all our loyal golf listeners to Sam and I podcast, and once in a while, Ben, I have a light bulb moment that goes off during the podcast, and I write it down on my sticky note, and I will put it on one of my 4 monitors that I have. Here's a guy. Here's how you win a GPP. You see this? You know why I'm talking about him? I mean, a couple things. Number one, leverage. Yeah. You've already mentioned one. And by the way, if anyone's not watching on YouTube, I just wrote down David Johnson. I've been playing this guy, and I think because I'm tailing him in my season-long league, he's in my flex every week, and it's like, all right, dude, you're getting 99% of the opportunity. Like, where's this big game coming? Like, it's coming. He does keep hitting the floor. So it's not like it's a bad play. He's 5,200. I mean, dude, you could consider him in cash games, honestly. Let's be real. You know, he's kind of seeing 14, 15 rushing attempts a week, 3 to 5 targets kind of guaranteed. Everyone's going to, and their mother's going to be talking up Watson and whatever pass catchers they want, Fuller included, right? So he's going to be lower owned. He falls in that price range of some of these other guys. Like, I mean, you know, I guess Mike Davis is not that much more, $1,000 more. People will try to obviously get to him in your main lineups, but he's one of those guys, man, that like, again, you look back and you're like, shit, I played Deshaun Watson, whatever, I still cashed. You got to get hedge exposure. Like, he'll be in one of my 3 lineups, guaranteed, like not even a question or debate.
No, that's a good call. I like that. I like that call. I like it.
All right, let's go to wide receiver. Generally, Ben and I like to pay down, similar to tight end, you know, if we can. Of course, if we have cash and salary available, we'll pay up to the best of our ability. I mean, why don't you talk about Ridley first? Because I think we should at least address it. Like, if you got money and Julio Jones is out, yeah, I just don't envision. I never have the money to get to a guy 7,500. I mean, what are your early thoughts? Can you do that? Granted, Julio's out.
Yeah, I think like if you wanted to, if you'd like one of the week, you're like, I'm playing Calvin Ridley no matter what, you could make it happen, for sure. Julio being out, you know, that's a big positive, obviously for him. You also have Amari right there. So, I mean, Amari has just been unbelievable. I think he's number 1 right now, wide receiver scoring, PPR formats through 4 weeks. I think Ridley's 3rd. So that's 2 top 3 guys right there. I think they're both fine plays. I just don't know if I'll have the money to get there. Personally, like, I feel like Julio was going to be super chalky, but now like he's not going to play because he got hurt again.
But we don't have an update right as of now.
Yeah, no, God. I mean, I guess we don't know, but yeah.
If Julio plays, he's a lock. I don't care what the frick his health is.
6,800 is hilarious. I can't wait for someone to like tell me, because I'm not gonna go look it up myself. But for someone to tell me like the last time he was below 7K on DraftKings.
Oh, don't you worry, those tweets are coming.
I guess he might have been. I don't know. That just feels like so cheap, man. I don't know. It's weird.
I'm telling you, automatically, it's not even a debate. I don't care what the injury status. If I get any report and I see it this weekend, or frankly, I'll probably be texting you and annoying you. If Julio's playing, I'm playing Julio at 6,800. I will not pass up on Julio Jones at 6,800. Like, I don't care. As long as I see that he's going to play and there's no real issue, I'm playing him.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't blame you at all. I just it seems like he's not going to play, but like when I first looked at the slate on like Sunday night, I was like, oh my, this was before he got hurt again. I was like, oh my God, he's 6,800. What's going on?
Love it. Well, where are you looking? I mean, are you going down in the mid-tier? I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, Will Fuller looks attainable, I guess, at 66. It sounds like that environment's going to be popular. So you got to admit, Will Fuller will probably be owned in cash games, right? I mean, he just will.
Yeah, he could see some ownership, especially because he was, at least on FanDuel, he was chalky last week and had a really good game. So I think people will go back to him. And if you're playing Watson, it would make a ton of sense to play him. I like dropping down a little bit more to we were talking about before, but Robbie Anderson I think is going to be really chalky at 5,900. I mean, I love DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is maybe the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. Like, he gets no respect at all. I think he's really good. I think he's going to be really good. He's obviously really young, but Robbie Anderson is Teddy Bridgewater's guy right now. It's very clear that they just have a really strong connection. And if we're playing Bridgewater, it would make sense to stack him with somebody. And I think at 5,900, Robbie Anderson should be more expensive than 5,900 given the role that he is. And people think of him as like a big play guy only, but that's because he played on the Jets, who are awful, and Adam Gase is not a good coach, obviously. We've seen guys just really pop fantasy-wise after they get away from Adam Gase, and that's happened with Anderson this season. And he's coming off an 11-target game. Like, he's had double-digit targets twice this season, and I think he is too cheap at 5,900. So I think he is going to end up being pretty chalky.
Interesting. How about let me take another step backward, I guess, a little macro view of the slate. Let's just go to Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's getting to the point where I tell myself, and it is weird with them because they're not on main slates much, I feel like, because they're always in these big games. But how do you just overlook a Tyreek Hill? I mean, I will say the one flaw in my NFL DFS handicapping in DFS in specific is, like, I look at KC and I'm like, 14-point implied total. They're going to blow them out. I'm not touching guys in a blowout game. I mean, honestly, dude, like, it's a flaw that I wish I didn't think like that at first, but I'm starting to this year try to train myself like, well, don't think about it like that. Think about it as these guys are all going to score a ton of points. And if you really look at it, I think it's a mistake if we make Clyde Edwards-Helaire only lineups this week. I mean, they're implied for 35 points. That's ridiculous. And yeah, I guess just you could play Pat Mahomes with Helaire and guaranteed to gobble up pretty much all of it. But man, Tyreek, like, I don't know, dude, his floor is so safe every week. In this Oakland secondary, I mean, they kind of let a lot of these like faster guys loose, Yeah,
they definitely struggle with speed. I don't know if I would play. Like, I feel like if I'm gonna play them both in cash, like, I would have to play Mahomes with them, right? Like, that's just how I would think of it. So I don't know if I could do that in cash games, but I have no problems with Hill. Like, if you wanted to play him in cash, I wouldn't say you're stupid. I just probably wouldn't go there myself. Because if I'm 100%, I'm playing Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, it's not even a debate. Like, he will be in my lineup. I'm telling you that right now. Like, if you subscribe to Core Plays, he will be in there on Sunday. So I'm just not, like, if I was going to play them both, I would need Mahomes too. I don't know if I could get to him in cash games.
All right, where else are you looking? I got a couple guys I guess I'm looking at, but
yeah, again, I mean, it's all like these mid-tier guys for me. I don't know who. Give me the guys you're looking at, and then we'll go from there. Because all the other guys I like are cheaper.
Yeah, and again, just real quick, we kind of went over a lot of the top-end guys. I mean, you know me, first off, I have a love affection for CeeDee Lamb. I played him every week in cash games on FanDuel, literally all 4 weeks. It's done wonders. On the Sunday live stream with Sam, he asked me for my bold take of the slate multiple times. I said CeeDee Lamb times 2. I feel like I almost want to go back to CeeDee Lamb, at least on FanDuel, but it's 6,000. I just wanted to address, I think it's probably a little too much to your point. you might as well just get up to Cooper. I will wait to see ownership on DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. Again, if I am going potentially the Teddy Bridgewater route, potentially, then yeah, I'm going to pick between one of those guys, and I will take the lower owned guy. I feel like a lot of people like in our Discord who haven't been around as much always at least think that we need to take the guy that's higher owned, right, Ben? Again, you can. I guess it's just it all depends. But for me, I want at least that leverage. So I'll pick either or. I don't even care. But one of them probably makes it my main lineup. And then, man, I would love for Golden Tate or somebody to get I guess COVID or something so I can play Darius Slayton. I feel like one of those guys is going to go off in the Giants, come back with the Dallas game there. We'll get to tight end too with Evan Ingram, but man, those guys are pretty cheap considering how bad the Cowboys are in a high total, dome game, blah, 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 all that jazz. Heck, you can consider playing Sammy Watkins. I know nobody likes him and they think his ceiling's limited, but I don't know. Dude, he's pretty cheap and 35 points implied. He's getting 5 catches a week. There is a lot of guys that are cheap. I said it last week. I thought it was a mistake playing. Did you play Brandon Cooks?
I did not. I did not play
Brandon
Cooks.
I cannot believe how high owned he was. Did he even get any points?
No, he had 0.
Again, I think
a lot of lineups. This is how bad my week was. A lot of lineups had Brandon Cooks and Troutman. A lot of lineups had 2 guys get 0, and I still lost. What the hell is the chance of that?
I played Troutman too.
I played Troutman, but still.
Probably was still the good play on paper, but whatever. Cooks, he's probably going to be popular, 4,100. I get it, but man, I do not want to risk that guy in cash games really ever. I didn't understand that play, but I kind of liked seeing him become popular. And then, I've mentioned Demir Byrd a few times on here. Dude, all he does is 10x. That's all he ever.
They don't have a quarter. I'm not.
I know.
Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer, whatever they do there. You're missing the best play on the slate, dude. 4,500.
Who's that?
Laviska Shenault, 4,500 against Houston. His routes have increased every single week. He has one of the best matchups on paper against this Houston secondary. He'll mix in and get some carries as well. 100% lock to be in my cash game lineup on Sunday is Laviska Shenault.
Well, can I play him then too?
Yeah, for sure. He might actually end up being kind of chalky. I hope he doesn't, but I could see him kind of getting some traction.
Now, that's a guy that's interesting. If you talk about it like that, if you really want to go the Watson route, man, you got the instant, kind of ping pong effect there. I love making that play. I would highly suggest it if you guys out there are going with the Watson lineups. All right. Well, later in the week, I'm sure we'll have more updates. Oh, Deontay Johnson might be a thing this week again, right? 5,600. He could be back. I don't know. Maybe people won't play him.
Yeah, we didn't mention A.J. Brown either. I think A.J. Brown is going to pop in projection systems if he is healthy enough to play. Obviously not a super elite matchup against Buffalo, but, he was so good last year. Any projections are going to bake in, obviously, historical data, so he's going to pop at his price at 5,400 for sure. He's going to be popular, I think.
All right, let's go to tight end. I'll start since it's easier.
All right.
Kelsey, if you got money, play Kelsey. He's, again, it's
Kittle, dude, we got to talk about what Kittle did. This guy, we didn't even know if he was going to play. We didn't even know if he was going to play, and he went, he was 15, 180 and a touchdown. Something insane, dude.
He's
a
just
monster.
He's a baller. This dude is so good. Yeah, he's 6,600. It's an interesting price. I guess DraftKings got that right in a way because Kelsey, 200 cheaper to me, is the better play. I'll tell you what, Ben, what I'm sick of and what everybody is sick of is what the hell? Why do we play these cheap fucking tight ends every week and they always get 0s or 3 points? I've never remembered a DFS season like this.
Yeah, Logan Thomas worked out for me week 1 when he scored, but Troutman with that 0, that was bad.
It's every week. I'm playing a Chris Herndon. Chris Herndon, I know he's going to pop in Sam's projections when they go live. I guarantee he does. 3,200, you would assume Arizona in town, more plays, yada, yada, more targets. I don't know, man. I can't trust these guys anymore. 3 weeks ago, this would have been a lock button. I'd be like, dude, Chris Herndon's 3,200 in this setup. But can we trust it? My brain wants to go to Herndon, but I just been ripped apart so many times by all these cheap you guys.
Yeah, so you mentioned him earlier, but I think Hearst and Ingram are probably the two best plays. Hearst obviously could get you some Atlanta run back. If you can't get up to Ridley, like you get some Atlanta exposure if you're playing Teddy. And then Ingram, I mean, Dallas is just so bad. Ingram like hasn't had that huge game yet, but the usage has been there, right? And he still gets a bump with Shepard out. So I think that's a little bit too cheap for him. I would expect the Giants. I know the Giants are bad, but I really think they'll be able to put up points, even if it's in garbage time. They'll be able to put up points against this defense. So Ingram is probably my favorite play, but Hurst is super interesting. Like if you were gonna end up with Teddy, Mike Davis, and Robbie Anderson in your cash lineup, like you're gonna want someone from Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
So I think Hurst is interesting. But
I considered Hurst. I don't know what it is. I mean, right now I'm kind of like you. I'm almost like trying to force myself to get a little bit more upside with the Wallers, the freaking Kittles. Like I just want like a security blanket this week at draft or at tight end, and I feel like I might end up paying up. Hopefully, I don't make a mistake because that's something I usually don't want to do. There's just a lot of guys in good spots this week. And dude, you know the drill, Ben. Like I'm not saying you're going to play Chris Herndon. I keep using him as an example. Excuse me, but you get like 3 points from him, and Kittle drops 22, and freaking these other guys drop 18 and 16. I mean, Waller, Ingram, you could just lose your cash game based on that decision alone. Would you agree?
yeah, Waller is interesting for sure at his price. Like I was not on him at all in that matchup against the Bills. He still had a good game, and it's clear he's going to be like the number one guy right now for Carr. And obviously, whenever you play Kansas City, you're going to be forced to put up points. So I do think he's interesting at his price.
Cool. Let's go to defense and finish up circle the wagons. I'll start again. I don't know. Are people going to play Tennessee versus Buffalo? I mean, at 2,100, that's obviously the cheapy play of the week that I would consider. I'll tell you right now, I mean, I'm considering also the Jets and the Browns really at 2,700 as of now.
Yeah, Browns are probably out for me just because the Colts run the ball so much. I don't know if there's a ton of upside for like sacks just because they're going to run the ball. But yeah, dude, the Jets are interesting. Like Arizona doesn't have a super great offensive line. We know Greg Williams will blitz all freaking game. So I actually think the Jets are probably my pick right now at 25.
Love it. Anything else? I mean, that about does it. As always, you can find all of our content, cheat sheets, like Ben said, our core plays at dfskarma.com, the projections portal. Generally updates. It's free, guys. It's super easy, functional, and it's a tool that I highly suggest you start implementing when you're looking to build your lineups. That updates usually on Wednesdays. And then at betkarma.com, man, there's so much going on there. We got a lot of updates actually coming in the next couple weeks. Check out the content, the actual expert picks, the simulations, and the prop predictor tools as well. That does it, Ben. You got anything else for the peoples out there? Go Browns, right?
Yeah, go Browns. And just remember that, it's only been 1 month of the NFL season, right? It's been a quarter of the season. If you, like us, are struggling in one certain aspect of your game, like don't get too discouraged. A lot of variance in only a month of action. So, stick to the process and eventually things will work out.
All right, guys. Good luck. Thanks.